Today's topic is one we have never talked about before on this podcast. We are going to explore blended family relationships after 60 with today's guest.
I'm Cameron. I spent years building my career and creating a life I loved. And when my Prince Charming finally showed up, he had 4 kids in tow. Fast forward through lots of mistakes made and lessons learned, stepfamily life was much more complicated than I realized. If you're looking for help with blended family life, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Stepmom Diaries, where we keep it real as we dish about all the things. This is your weekly dose of blended family inspiration and encouragement. You're not the wicked stepmother, so let me help you find your fairy tale ending. Come on, let's do this.
Welcome. Today we are talking about something that we have not tackled yet, and I'm kind of excited about it. Today I've got with me Nan Bauer-Maglin, and we're talking all about relationships after 60. Before we get started though, can I ask you a favor? Could you go to iTunes and leave me a rating, or even better, a review? Every rating and review I get helps me reach more and more stepmoms just like you. Okay, why am I excited about today's episode? Well, it hits a little personal for me. Both of my husband's parents got remarried the same summer that we did. They had been divorced for, 16 or 17 years, and they both remarried. The most wonderful people. Really, truly. I hit the in-law jackpot. I always say that, and I promise I'm not just saying that because they might be listening. I really do love my in-laws. But getting married after 60, and in their case, they were in their 70s, presented totally different blended family issues than what I faced when I married Craig. Again, they're both truly lovely, and their new spouses are wonderful. And the new spouses were accepted pretty readily by Craig and his sisters. And as far as I know, they also have great relationships with their spouses' kids. But the point being, they had all lived really full lives before they married each other, and they all had adult children. And that definitely makes some things easier, right? But it also presents a lot of things that just weren't top of mind for me and Craig. And that's what we're going to talk about today. My guest, Nan Bauer-Maglin, is Professor Emerita at the City University of New York. She has published 8 collections on topics like stepfamilies, retirement, feminism, death, dying and choice, and older parenting. And her latest book is Gray Love, Stories about Dating and New Relationships After 60. There are 73 million people over the age of 60 in the U.S., which is a demographic representing 22% of the total population, and that number is only growing. According to the Census Bureau, by 2050, the number of people aged 65 to 89 is going to double, while the number of Americans over the age of 90 is expected to quadruple. I didn't know all that. I bet you didn't either. While a lot has been written about the economic consequences of our rapidly aging population, a lot less has been written about the emotional lives and the needs of that age group. So in this book, Gray Love, Stories about Dating and New Relationships After 60, Nan Bauer-Maglin and her co-editor, Daniel Hood, have compiled a series of essays that provide a fascinating firsthand glimpse into the love lives of older Americans as they face the twilight of their lives. It's really fascinating, and this is such an interesting topic. So let's dive in. Well, welcome, Nan. I'm so excited that you're here.
I'm very happy to be here as a stepmom myself.
Yes. So, and I always love to ask my guests, what is your stepmom story? How did you become a stepmom? And, give me a little bit give our listeners a little bit about your background.
I am now 81 and a retired professor. And I met my second husband, 40 years ago. I had a marriage and a daughter in the first marriage. Daughter I adopted. And then in my second marriage, 40 years ago, my husband came in with 3 children. And they were, I think, it's hard to even remember, they were like 10, 17, and 18. And so I became a stepmom. And that was quite some time ago, 40 years ago. And I looked for books. And at that point, I know now there's many, many books out. But at that point, I didn't see that many books. And I wanted help. It was hard. They were angry at me, although I didn't break up the marriage. The marriage was already broken up, but they sort of blamed me no matter what. And also I thought it was kind of romantic to inherit 3 children. But when I really had to face it financially and emotionally, it was hard. It was too hard. I wasn't prepared. So I looked for a book. I could not find anything that I really liked. And I also wanted to have a sense of what feminists were saying about step families, because that was a period when feminism, women's liberation was big. And we were already criticizing the family and trying to rethink the family. And I wanted to help rethink the step family. So I ended up doing a book, which I will show you. It's Women in Step Families.
Yes.
Voices of Anger and Love this is like 1989. And I got stepmothers to write, parents who are giving their kids or sending their kids to step families. I got a variety of voices, and it was helpful. So that's how I became the step mom. And then, my husband has died 5 years ago. So it's now another issue about step families, because he was always it was his kids, his 3 kids. He was the one that would initiate like our seeing them and keeping up with them. And now it's fallen to me. And so I'm a much more active step parent than I was when he was alive.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. How interesting. And I love that. I mean, your journey, sadly, is sort of a similar one to mine, and I think many other stepmoms, that when they become stepmoms, they're like looking for the resources, and sadly, there's still not a lot out there. So, which is how I came to do this, But I love, so for the listeners, I know I've talked about Nan's book called Gray Love. Tell me a little bit about why you decided to write this. Why is it important to look at what you call, tell us first, what is Gray Love, and then tell us why it's important to look at
it. Gray Love is a book of 45 writers, mostly women, but there are 13 men, and there are 4 couples writing together. And it's divided into 2 parts. Part 1 is about searching for love and how people do it. And it's ages between 60 and 94, the writers.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's about searching for love. And mostly it's about searching online and everyone's experience with that. But not all of them are searching online. That's the majority of how you find somebody these days. You don't, if you're 80, you don't go rock climbing to meet somebody or to a bar, so you have to learn how to go online.
But I was so surprised at one of the statistics is that senior singles actually make up one of the fastest growing demographics in online dating. I mean, who knew? I had no idea.
Yes. And the online dating sites, there are many. I list maybe about 20 that was mainly used in the book, and certainly Match, because everyone knows Match. But I did read an article recently that for seniors, Match and Tinder are used. And
wow.
I didn't know that. I didn't think Tinder was used by seniors. And it's for relationships. It's not for just, quick dating and sex. Anyway, so part 1 is about the search, how to write a profile, how people write profiles. There are several pieces in it saying, I don't want to date. I am okay being single. And everybody in the book is widowed or divorced. So they've already been in a long-term relationship. And then part 2 is about finding somebody, and it's about couples uniting and how they do that, and what are the issues, and are there different issues than if you're 20 and you form a relationship. So part 2 explores those issues, and of course, one of the difficult issues is if you're going to date somebody, like I'm 81. And I'm dating somebody who's 81. And the issue of aging and illness and death, unfortunately, is a big issue. You have to face that, because that's part of the relationship.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's interesting also, particularly for a lot of the stepmoms that are listening, thinking about when you come in at that age and you have so much life experience and, chances are, and I wouldn't know the statistics on this, but I'm guessing more often than not, when you're dating in your 70s and 80s, probably one or both of you has kids that you're bringing to the equation. So it is a step family type relationship, even though the kids may be adults and it may not be sort of what you might necessarily think of when you think about step families.
I think you're right. I could give you some examples of people who did write about kids, although I would say most of the people did not write about children, because I think when you come together, like in your 80s, you're much more interested in finding love. Well, you're always interested in finding love, and you're finding affection and finding someone who care for you in these late life years. Um, and so you're not interested in, raising children or establishing like where the kids are going to go to school or what religion they
Right.
should be or any of the kind of questions you have to deal with if you're
That's
coming.
all been done. Yeah.
Yeah. So that doesn't seem to be an issue. But I will say that, for instance, Susan O'Malley, I'll name some writers in the book. She met somebody who was almost 90. She started dating somebody almost 90, and she was, I think, in her 70s. She knew him. She had worked with him on different projects. So, and her family knew him. However, because her husband died, the children said, I don't want to meet him. I don't want you to be dating him. I have a grandfather, or I had a grandfather. I don't want another grandfather. And so she was sort of shocked because they even knew him and liked him. And it wasn't her child who said it. It was the grandchildren who said that. They don't want to
Wow.
meet him. Um, Eventually they did, and they knew, and they were happy, but there is a real sense that I think children, even adult children, don't want their parents replaced or their grandparents replaced. And they also don't want to think about 80-year-old people having sex
Well,
and being in love.
I think that goes for kids in general. You never
That,
want to think about what your parents did to get you here. I mean,
right.
right.
Definitely. Another person, Angela Page, who lived in Florida, met a man through connections of some sort. So these are two people who didn't do dating online that I'm talking about. And she moved to New Jersey to be with him. He was, again, in his late 80s. And as soon as they connected, he started getting sick.
Mm.
And she, then there's the ethical question of what do you do if you don't have a long-term relationship with this person? Do you stay with them? What do you do? And she felt ethically that she should help him. Also, she loved him. So he, in fact, turned over his finances and changed his will and included her in it. His son, who was not interested in helping the father, who lived long distance away, was furious that she was involved.
Mm-hmm.
And the man said, I love her. Consider her my wife. So she was like a stepmom, a step-parent. And
Mm-hmm.
in the end, he blocked her participation. She was using money to make his life comfortable, to have doctors and everything. In the end, he blocked her. And
The son.
yeah, the son blocked her from. She wanted to keep him at home. He wanted to stay at home. The son wanted to move him into a free nursing home to die.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually he did die. And she wasn't invited to the memorial after she worked all this time helping him. So I think there are questions about, the children, you could be called stepchildren, are worried about money or just don't want another replacement parent.
Yeah, and I think the challenges with step families, I guess senior step families or gray love step families, however we want to
call them. I mean, I think the challenges that step parents face, in as seniors are so different than the challenges a young parent faces getting into a second family where the kids are, under 10 or even teenagers, right? Because they're still kind of developing. I mean, this is a situation where the kids have, either the parents have been divorced for a long time and they're used to, mom or dad being on their own, or one of the parents has passed away. And the idea of mom or dad moving on with, someone else is really hard to bear. Or maybe they are concerned about inheritance or somebody, having ulterior motives for dating their parent, or whatever that looks like. But I think the challenges are really, there's so many different things that, seniors need to think about as they embark on these relationships. And as you said, a lot of times they aren't thinking about that at all. They just really want to be with this person.
Yeah. I think when you enter any relationship, you come with experiences, and you may come with having dated, a few people, and you have to deal with that in the relationship. But when you're 60, 70, 80, 90, you usually come with a very long-term relationship. And that's hard in the, that's hard in the couple. And it's also hard for the children if they want to get involved. And there are two pieces in the book. One is by me and one's by another couple, called Ghosts. You come with ghosts. And whether the person you're meeting wants to talk about that and want to acknowledge the ghosts. And I have it's a very small piece. It's only 100 words. And I write about the ghosts in the bed. When I am with this man that I'm dating, it's also his wife in the bed who's dead, and my husband in the bed who's dead. And you might also say, if you want to talk about step families, there could be children in the bed too.
That's a lot of people in your bed.
Very crowded.
Well, so what were some of the common things that you, as you kind of brought these authors in to write about gray love, what do you think? What are some of the common themes that you really picked up on throughout the book? And I mean, 45 writers is a lot. That's a lot of, were there any sort of common things that you picked up on?
Well, it's hard to generalize, but I think online dating is hard. It takes a lot of time. And for the older you get, I think there's less choice. And you have to deal with a lot of issues. But I think for women, let's talk about women. And mostly the people who wrote in the book are women. The issue of appearance and aging and presenting yourself to a man, look at my gray hair. Do I color it when I go online or when I meet this person? I didn't want to. Several people advised me to. So, other people talk about what should they wear. Everything is an issue when you're older that you don't think of. Someone else talked about having a mastectomy. And that can happen at a young age, but it's much more likely, as an older person, that there are things about your body that you feel self-conscious about. And just having sex is a big issue. I do want to say one of the common themes, though, is that for aging, older relationships, many people in the book say they've had the best sex of their life.
Well, that's something to look forward to.
Yes, it is. And I think the reason is that you don't have children, running around in your household. You are probably retired. So, and you're sort of formed, so you don't have to sort of think about who you are.
You're more secure, and
yeah. And so you can actually meet a man or a woman, if you want a same-sex partner, and there are a few in the book writing about same-sex partners. You can be open and physical with them without all these interruptions. And even if a man can't perform in the same way, and that's an issue for older men, in some ways for women, and I'm going to generalize about this, sometimes that's better, because then men have to think about other things to do to please a woman rather than just, have intercourse.
I love that.
I don't know if you expected me to say all that, but
Absolutely. That's great. Well, what do you see as, I mean, we've talked a little bit about the different challenges that, older couples can have around kids and past experiences and stuff like that. I mean, what would you say after working with these 45 writers, after hearing their stories and talking to them about all the things? What would you say is your biggest piece of advice, or, something you would tell someone who is maybe just getting back out there and looking for love as a senior?
well, this isn't a how-to book, although I read each piece as how-to, because just when you get into the complicated experiences, you learn things and you think about yourself. But I think there's several things. You do have to worry about, scams. But one of the men in the book actually wrote and said the biggest problem, the thing you have to worry about, is your expectations, and not to be so disappointed each time. And this is for women mainly, again, because the men in the book, one of the men said it's like going online is like a candy store for men.
Hmm.
Around every picture is another picture, a new
I think
person.
that's true for young people too.
Yeah.
you know?
But for older women, you have to be aware that you're going to get disappointed, that you have to do a lot before you maybe meet anybody. And for me, what I had to learn, and maybe I think other people, is that since I'm in literature, I like words, I like how people write, and so I got romanced by their writing. And what you
Hmm.
have to do is move out of that, because their writing is very different from what you will see in person and how they will relate in person. So you have to learn to move quickly, to text a little bit, go on the phone, but meet somebody if you think you're interested.
And
Um,
any advice for the couples who have met and are trying to navigate some of the complications around family and,
One of
existing.
the pieces that seems to be true of several of the couples, not all of them, and actually, since the book ended, two of the couples married, in
Oh,
their 80s, their 90s. Um, but most of the couples, it seems to me, decided not to live together.
well,
That
that's interesting.
Yeah, and there's a phrase actually that seems to go around called "living apart together,"
Hmm.
LAT, and you could live. One of them lives down the hall. They each bought condos, but another lived 200 miles away. Eventually, they moved closer. But what they said, I thought was really touching. They said they met each other when they were adults, older adults, fully formed persons, and
Hmm.
they were creative, independent people. And they realized that's what they loved about each other. So to move in with each other and to like have fights about the toothpaste or who picked the socks, they've realized that would ruin the relationship, that would dampen the relationship. And these, obviously, you have to have enough money to have two abodes. So several couples decided not to move in with each other. And that's, I think, pretty wise.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting, and may simplify things for any kids that have
Yes.
trepidation about their parents recoupling. That if you're keeping things sort of separate, via either a prenup or just kind of keeping separate houses or whatever, that may help with the kids,
Yeah, you don't
depending
have
on the
to force the
situation.
kids to relate to this person. And
Hmm.
the guy I'm dating, I would like my kids to like him, but that's really not important. It just
Hmm.
isn't. I like him, And I think the other thing is when you're dating as an older person, you have to um, realize you should know yourself well, and you have to realize, would it be helpful to understand that you've been a mother, you are a mother, you've been a wife, you've been a grandmother often, but when you date, you're a person. You're not
Hmm.
a
You're a
role.
woman. Yeah.
You're not. Yeah.
That's great. Well, this is fascinating, and I thank you for writing this book. I think that there are, so many. I mean, just the fact that seniors are, the largest growing demographic of online dating. I mean, I think that there are so many people that could benefit from all the stories that are in this book, and, thinking about how to navigate this crazy world, and, how to navigate things if you're thinking about coupling up at that age. I think it's really, really important information. So thank you. This has been a real pleasure, really interesting discussion.
I enjoyed it. I'm glad you do the Stepmom Diaries. I think they're important.
Thank you.
That's it for this week. If you've enjoyed our chat, I hope you'll help spread the word. Share this episode with friends and head on over to wherever you listen to podcasts and leave me a review. And don't forget, for more great stepmom content, head on over to thiscustomlife.com and follow me on social media. Just search This Custom Life on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. Until next time, you keep being you and know that we are in this together. See you here next week.